Howdy ho. Nobody's obviously right here just yet. So we'll get stream going in 1 minute or so. I will just pick one item that I forgot to pick up earlier. So see you in 30 seconds. So what's up, people? It's March 2022, and time for a monthly stream. Like I promised you yesterday, gonna be here to talk with you. Hello, Patrugia. Meow. I don't know why I do cat sounds. Anyway, can you hear me all right? Is there something wrong with the voice, the audio? Hello, Wasky. Nice to have you here. So, what's up, people? I just finished watching a movie from 1949. So, that is more than 70 years old movie by now. You know, going down with my IMDb top 350 list. And this time I watched a movie called Wonderful Life, a comedy, black and white, by the way, comedy movie from 1949, and had a bag of Cheetos and one of these beers I'm going to have you here. This is a review beer, which I'm going to present you later on. But since I had like 4 bottles of these, have already drunk a couple of these. This is a Finnish occult rock band beer, Chess and the Ancient Ones. Don't know if you know the band. They're quite liked here. Not exactly my type when it comes to music. But anyway, nonetheless, the brewery provided me 4 of these ones, and I still have 2 left. The last one I will save for the review video, but I will have this one while I'm gonna spend some time with you, and let's talk about this and that. Obviously, world is a very, very different place than what it used to be a few weeks ago. And hello, Madrid. Thank you for letting me know, and good to have you here. So, like I said, world is in a very, very different phase or place than what it used to be a couple of weeks ago, and unfortunately, not for the better. I mean, we all know about Ukraine and shitty situation right there. Nobody likes Russians, not even Russians. But let's not get into politics. Rauta has never been about politics. I'm not a political person, even though I mentioned I donated some money to help people in Ukraine. But let's be honest about it. That doesn't have really so much about that I am such a charity person. It has, well, let's put it this way. There's multitude of reasons why I wanted to do that. Not so much virtue signaling, which I guess people are always thinking about. I mean, whenever you do good deeds, nowadays people are all around about social media and whatever. But I don't want to get too much deep into that. I just say Russia is doing shitty things, and we should by no means support that. Since I can't really boycott Russian things, I mean, I'm not in the first place buying any of those things. I decided to give my support to Ukraine this way. Can't really boycott Russia. So, hey, let's give them some money. Buy guns or buy band-aids. I don't really care. Fuck Russia with their war. Fuck Putin. And that's pretty much all I want to say about it. Now, let's have some beer. I hope you're having a good weekend. I'm personally having a good weekend. So, show must go on, like the saying goes. So, cheers. Grab yourself a beer or whatever kind of a drink you prefer, and let's make this a happy stream, if you get my idea. Hello, Patty. How are you? I'm doing fine, thank you. Did my very first COVID test today. Still negative, even though we had our gig last weekend with Nightside. Met some guys with Morgul. I mean, all the guys who were there. Had a nice gig and all. Even one of the roommates, I had this place, this apartment where I was sleeping between Saturday and Sunday. COVID positive. Mortal guys, COVID positive. Don't know how many other guys. Me, healthy as fuck. I guess Rauta is just way too cool to get ill, if you get my drift here. So, still COVID negative. Well, Netred, I want to tell you this thing. This happens to be the very same brewery as the one that made Dogwood's My Betrothed beer. And Just and the Ancient Ones is very, very different kind of beer. And it doesn't even stop that. Wait a second. Since the brewery people are nice fellas and they do nice beer things, this is also one of the beers I'm gonna review soonish. This is Katkeruuden Malja, the chalice of bitterness, roughly translated. This is the band Kuolemanlaakso beer, the very same band I just reviewed on Thursday's video. So the album is very, very fresh from the oven, like the saying goes. This is a Belgian type of beer, triple, as you can probably see on the sticker right here. So three different band beers of various styles, all roughly from the same area. That is called Savo, which is something like a not exactly northeastern part, but well, kinda. Not too much north, more on the east. Not exactly by the border of Russia, but quite close. And this Savo area is kind of a special area in the terms of what kind of people you get there. It's kind of a meme materially, really, if you think about it. But let's not get too much about it. The thing here is there are lots of bands like Nightwish, Dogwoods Might Be Betrothed, these Chess and the Ancient Ones. Um, well, this Kuolemanlaaksot, also band Turmion Kätilöt, which featured a longtime member Spellgoth, nowadays known for being Horna vocalist, etc., etc. And he is actually from the same area with his brother, who is also playing drums for Horna. So that Savo area is very much, there are lots of different kind of bands. You get bands like Nightwish doing very symphonic orchestral metal, and then you have black metal bands like the Spellgoth's band, even though Spellgoth doesn't really live around that area anymore. And then you have bands like Dogwoods Might Be Betrothed, once again, black metal, black pagan, if you will. Kuolemanlaakso being more like doom death, and there are various bands. And this brewery, Isokalla Brewery, is actually located in the same area, and so they have the kind of a local. I don't know what else to call it really, but kind of a collaboration thing going on. And as such, they have made interesting, different kind of beers. For example, this Kuolemanlaakso thing, being Belgian kind of triple. These Jess and the Ancient Ones, this is actually ginger beer, not ginger ale, mind you. This is alcoholic, but yeah, it's ginger beer. And the Dogwoods Might Be Betrothed was then again smoky lager one. So different kind of a band beers. So band beers are doing fine in Finland. Very different kind of bands, from black metal bands to kind of a mainstreamish bands and along those lines. So lots of things are happening in that area. And well, as a beer fanatic, as a music lover, I'm very fucking happy about it. So the only downside is this brewery is not big enough to just, do international waters all with these beers. So these are probably the local kind of delicacies you're not able to get, especially if you live overseas. I don't know if they ship that, in European countries, but most likely you're only able to get these kind of beers if you reside in Finland or travel to Finland. Different kind of beers about bars, but yeah, I hope that these will be available at some point somewhere else. And Natrid, I am truly thankful for your idea about the beers you could send me, but We know, we both know that it's quite hard to ship alcohol overseas, especially for the price and customs and whatever. And yeah, Finland joining NATO. That's actually the only initiative. There's this kind of a, I don't know what's the official word for that, but because Finland is super democratic nation, and basically everybody can just collect these names, signatures, if you will, from a lot of people, individuals. So if enough the signatures are gathered or collected, whatever the right word for it is, then it's possible that this kind of a legislation changes are pushed on towards the government, and they might actually take a look at it. So I can actually announce it here that I also signed my part for that NATO possibility. So, like, yeah, in my opinion, Finland should be part of NATO. More than 50% if Finnish people are agreeing with that, especially with the shit going on with Russia and Ukraine. Finland has been always pretty neutral, much like Sweden and Switzerland. And as we already know, well, neither Switzerland or Sweden nor Finland are exactly neutral anymore. So we live in an interesting world right now. Not necessarily for the good stuff, but yeah, it's been interesting. First, we have like a couple of years of COVID, very, very special kind of a years in our lives for so many reasons. And now that COVID is finally like, well, not maybe going away, but at least we are handling it properly and people are not getting sick so much. A lot of people are vaccinated, and those who are not getting so much ill. I have plenty of close friends, even our band member, just like a week before our gig, he got COVID. My boss got COVID. Like lots of people got COVID. But thanks to vaccinations and reasonable ways to handle it, lots of people are doing just fine. So now that we're getting rid of COVID, we got war. So interesting times for sure. Can't say it's like the best or most interesting years to be alive, but man, it's kind of interesting. And I don't want to get this edge lord Grinch kind of a thing, like, hey, yeah, it's fucking great, man. With my war metal hair, let's just celebrate this year. Fuck that shit. At least I don't know about you people. I want to live a relatively happy life and all that stuff. And I don't need to have kind of extreme situations and edgelord things going on in my life to make it more interesting. I mean, let's be honest about it. We all have our own challenges. And the older you get, you kind of a more comfortable you want to get with your life. It's one thing to have those interesting things when you're in your 20s and really nothing good is happening in your life because you don't have money, you don't have friends, you don't have career, you don't have shit. But the older you kind of get, once you figure out, hey, I actually have something going on, you don't want to lose it. So let the 15 to 20 edgelord kids go to war and see how it does for them. And for the rest of us, I think we should just enjoy some good life, man. I don't know about you. This is my view of life. I could just settle down with kind of a Musashi, Miyamoto Musashi, one of the most famous swordsmen in entire humankind history. Do gardening, have pets, and fucking kill your enemies if you have to. But if you don't have to kill any enemies, you can just be okay with writing poems, reading a book, gardening, taking care of pets, and make love to your significant others. That's pretty much of it. And of course, listen to some fucking good music, enjoy culture and all that stuff. Can't be that complicated. Okay, so I'm rambling once again. I always have this kind of habit. You already know me. I'm rambling when I'm enthusiastic about things and when I have free time and all. So I'm rambling. I will read some of the comments and I will reply with your questions and all, or reply your questions with my answers. Okay, getting complicated. Too many beers too by now. So yeah, I guess I already answered the question that what are my thoughts on the prospect of Finland joining NATO. I think it's quite possible that we will eventually, but I don't know when and how and all that stuff. Hello, Arvon Mannik. Nice to have you here. Yeah, I think Russia is cool thing right now. It's also very, very Finnish thing to do. I mean, since Winter War, since Second World War, Finland and Russia have never been exactly good pals. And of course, that goes way back before the 20th century. I mean, Finland and Russia, Finland being invaded by Russia, hundreds of years ago, and before that, Sweden. So we're like between two nasty bears. The one is gay bear, that is Sweden, and the one is just, really grizzly bear, that of Russia. And we have, you know, held our ground, so to speak. So yeah, Ukraine has a lot of Finnish support because we've been where they are. We got our how to say sovereign state thing going on 1917, and since Finland has been of its own country, of course we know what independence is. You don't have to be nationalistic, you don't have to be a kind of a neo-Nazi dude to just understand, like, hey, we have our freedom, we don't speak Russia here, we have our own culture, we have our own literature, all that stuff. We are not, being ruled by Russian government or the crazy president or whatever. So, in that respect, most people around the world probably don't understand that Finnish and Ukrainian, we have, in a sense, this kind of a mental bond. So, for Americans, this could be translated as, America was made by people who wanted to say, fuck off, England, we're done with you people. We're going to have our own country. So, other places that also wanted to be like leaving the mother country, United Kingdom or whatever, uh, American can probably understand that a lot. I mean, of course, and they can probably relate to Finland as well as probably Ukraine. But yeah, these are not easy questions. Sometimes people are like, "Hey, we actually want to be part of you," but I don't like said, I don't want to get too much into politics. I mean, politics are and war already itself without politics. I mean, it's complicated. You have to understand that when we're talking about politics, it's just not about destroying things. It's not about just killing people. It's not just even about, power as such. It affects economy. It affects people in many ways, like cultural ways and all that shit. And it destroys a lot of lives. And I mean, from an ed's point of view, if you're not living right there, it might be like, hey, who cares? But then again, you really have to care about how it affects the whole planet. If then again you live in a small town and you're never gonna travel anywhere, you're never gonna learn a new language, you're never gonna listen to foreign music, then you can say, fuck off, I don't care. But if you're ever going to travel, you know that wars are not exactly very nice thing to have. You have cultural things destroyed, you have people destroyed, you have a lot of people killed, you have those post-traumatic stress disorders, which I think Americans have more than enough, from Vietnam War to Korean War to Gulf Wars and whatever. All places, all the countries who have been in war or affected by war have these people. And really, they don't do good for anybody. So these are shitty things. I think the only ones who are actually benefiting of wars and shitty situations, conflicts, and all that are the people who have money invested in that. I mean, if I had this big ass military company, if I had this multi-billion industry, making warplanes and tanks and machine guns or fucking wests, yeah, I would be like, hey, this is good for people. I get to say I'm employing a lot of people. At the same time, I'm making money and laughing all my way to the bank. But that's pretty much of it. The rest, we're not fucking happy about it. I don't think Russian people are fucking happy about it, that they have this crazy dude handling their things very, very shitty. And the rest of, the European people are like, oh, you are not going to mess with us with your threats and all that stuff. But yeah, once again, I'm rambling too much. So, yeah. So I hope that you are being entertained. And if not, well, go do something else that will be entertaining to you. So, What are you people doing this weekend? What are your plans? What have you already achieved? Or what are you going to achieve this weekend? Are you going to just chill down and watch some movies? Are you going to play games? Are you going to get a drink or fucked? Or are you going to go exercising? What are you going to do except watch some Rauta stream? What is the thing for you this week? Let me know. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about good stuff. Everything Russia is already banned right there. Yeah, I get it. Oh, yes, Nightside gig. I need to tell you about it. Yes, that was like last week. I will tell you in a little bit. I will just, go a little bit down with comments and all that stuff. Hello, UK people as well. Thank you, Patty. You're always nice to me. I hope one day you and me, we will have some good time in real life, have beers and good talks and laughs. What else? Yep, COVID being forgotten, and I think it's a good thing. You, Natred, you were sick all month January. That sucks, my man. I'm, I am not happy to hear about it, but what can you say? Yeah, it's good that mask mandate is not mandatory. It's a little bit on and off here, depending where you go and all that stuff. So definitely, mask thing is kind of a fading away, but it's still present here. Once again, depending where you go. Hello, Huggies. Hello, Zivrock. I haven't heard new Scorpions album. Maybe eventually I will, but yeah, I don't know when. Alvaro Esquito is asking what I think about Drudge's new single. Well, I'll tell you this much. I rarely listen to singles because I kind of want to listen to full album, so I haven't heard it yet. I've seen it posted in a couple of times on Rauta's Discord as well, but really, I kind of find singles almost like annoying. I never enjoyed them even with the kind of hit big bands, so even less with smaller bands where I think individual songs are part of albums. So I kind of dislike the whole idea of single releases by songs. I mean, it's one thing to have a single released by a pop band where you just need people to dance around a nightclub. But for metal bands, singles feel just weird. I mean, unless you're a radio band and you need that radio single, bands like Metallica and Iron Maiden, like blah. If you have a cool music video to go with, yeah, maybe then it's a different thing because there's this visual thing going on. But when it comes to just music being released on singles, I find them kind of useless. What else? Hello, Johannes. You just met 3 drunk girls from Uusikaupunki. Well, that's nice. You should invite those drunk girls to the stream as well. Gas prices here, they're gonna be fucking shit, man. We already, by the way, have this. Gasoline has never been this high in Finland. It's more than 2 euros per liter. It wasn't too long ago when it was like 1.7, 1.8. So we're hitting new maxes. Yes, military complex. That's one thing. Yeah, war sucks. Fuck war. Let's have beers and music and sex. So Nato is working all weekend. What about you, rest of people? Huggies is having beer. I like beer more than work. I can tell you that much. Last weekend when we had our gig, I was basically mentally flying after the gig. I didn't even remember that playing a show would be, giving this much high feeling. High like smoking the green stuff. For a couple of days after the gig, I was like, I was like, what the fuck? That was really, really brilliant. So yeah, let's talk about that. Let's not talk about war and shit. Let's talk about music and gigs. Um, Patty is asking, like, let's talk about dissection. What about it? Nato got engaged. Congratulations, my man. That's a good move. That's a good move, really. Great. Congratulations are in place. If you want me to salute you, you don't have to ask. I will salute you. Patty's waiting for Belfico and Marduk. Und ja, good thing, Patty. That's the way to go. Alrighty. What else? Good Doom is asking if I like Fintroll, Skyforger, and Primordial. To some extent, I do. I actually like the people with those bands, yeah. So, but musically, for example, Fintroll is maybe too happy for my liking. Primordial is more epic, so that is it. And Skyforger has a lot of black metal thing going on, especially the early albums. So yeah. Hello, Sam. Nice to hear you. Cheers, mate. Yes. So about the gig, we had the band going back together. I think it last was like September, maybe August. So basically, we had like 6 months to rehearse before the gig, and the rehearsals were nice. We have like two new members who haven't been playing in Nightside before this one, but these are good guys. So I knew know them previously, and it was quite easy to get into the whole group and get rehearsing and get to play that old stuff. So first couple of months, we just kind of get to know each other. I mean, even though I know everybody in the band, knew already before we got together. There was a little bit of getting to know each other, how chemistry clicks and all that stuff. We got the thing going on, and then we got this session keyboard player, also a pal of mine, and I think we started to feel solid. The more we played, the more it started to feel like a real band, like we're really gonna do that show. So the only downside is we didn't get the CDs and tapes from the label to be sold, but we got to print some shirts, and I'm gonna show you before I forget, because these are now available in case some people are interested. So since Nightside was founded in 1996, this is the first time in 26 years that we have actually shirts going on. So we printed about 50 of them for the show. And the closer it came, I started even get a little bit, butterflies in my tummy, kind of a little bit nervous. And it was funny thing because one of my good friends who's promoter of the whole event, Turku Saatanale event, the ones that I've been doing interviews with, like Barathrum and Satanic Warmaster and stuff like that, the ones that you've seen on, during the years. So this was suddenly not only a place where I go to see bands and interview bands, but actually an event where I'm supposed to play with my mates. So come January, and I'm feeling like, okay, March is closing in, and or technically speaking, late February. And when February once again, enters the game, I'm like, fuck, that show is only a few weeks ago. And this good friend of mine, which I was mentioning, the promoter, he was like, Cherry, you're always so cool and you don't stress about anything. You're not nervous about anything. You're like this kind of Mr. Cool Eyes. Now, I don't want to brag about it, but that's the reality. I'm too cool to give a fuck. I mean, the most of times, I basically never stress about anything. Like my ex-girlfriend said some 15 years ago, no, more than that. But anyway, she said something that the only thing Jerry stresses about is that he's going to stress about something. And that is very true with me. Like I said, I'm too cool to give a fuck, too busy to stress, because I know it doesn't really help. So I'm just, like, who gives a fuck? We're going to play a show, and I know that we have rehearsed a lot. I mean, even to when the show was getting closer, I would just, drive around, back to rehearsals, or, drive home and whatever. I would just spin our own CDs, to figure out the lyrics. I mean, even though I've been, practicing with the bandmates, band rehearsals, I felt like I need to rehearse even more. Like I need to be constantly, you know, remembering those lyrics, even when I went to bed, lights off and, blah, 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 brush teeth and all. I would just, go through the lyrics. So I would fucking nail them when the time has come. So I was like remembering lyrics all the time. I would go to shower and I was like, Cold War, crazy shit. So I took it to the level that I really need to, do it. I have to do it well, or there's no point doing that. I mean, after 20 years, when you're gonna play a show, you have to give everything, that 100%, or there's no point going that. So obviously, on the day of the show, I get a little bit, this weird kind of a nervous moment. But I have this good plan with my Danish friend. I would go to their rented apartment, go to sauna, have a couple of beers, then come back, maybe 1 hour to the show, and just joke around and blah blah blah. Then we put our corpse paints on. Then we have our robes. Yes, we got our robes made for the show. Well, and for the shows to come also. So we wanted to do something else than your typical band shirt and denim pants, because we didn't feel like we just go to the show, to the gig, to just be our normal selves. We wanted to kind of bring a show, even though it was like 8 songs, 35 minutes and all that stuff. And we didn't have like blood or fire, but we had these solid set list, and we had these robes and corpse paint and cool lighting, I gotta say. So even though I felt confident that we're gonna deliver, we're gonna play a good set of songs, and I know that we have been rehearsing a lot, and we are having this good chemistry in the band. You still don't know how it's gonna go until you've actually done it. So before the first song, I was actually, staring by the stage, waiting a little bit, the kind of a build up, the kind of a nervousness. The rest of the guys are already on stage, plugging in their guitars and, bass and all that stuff, keyboard player. And then they're staring at me like, what's up? And I'm like, hey, it's 3 minutes to the show time. I don't want to start too early in case somebody's buying a beer and, figuring out. I'm like very, how to say, I'm very practical about it. I'm almost like possessed about it. Like you don't start 2 minutes before the show time, nor do you start late if you can avoid it, but right on time. So I was just sipping the beer with there and having talk with my friends by the stage, and guys are like, come on, man. And I'm like, hey, it's 2 minutes. Okay, then I figure out, okay, they're waiting for me. The audience is already there. And I'm like, fuck it. Okay, let's do it. So without further ordering, I'm like, okay, let's go. And we start a couple of songs before any kind of speeches are made. Not that I'm too big of a fan of any kind of between the songs kind of speech thing. But, this time I wanted to explain why the fuck we are here. I mean, technically speaking, this is not about boasting or anti-boasting. I'm stating the facts. We have been away for 20 years live. So I was stating, okay, we are basically has-been band. There's no shame in that. I'm just stating the obvious. We're not some cult band, or technically speaking, we are a cult band, but I mean, it's not like we are some emperor or, the big kind of a band that people are expecting and throwing money at us. So we're technically speaking a has-been cult band coming on stage, and we don't have multitude of albums. We don't have some cool stories like, yeah, the band was away for 20 years because our bass player killed a person or because our drummer burned down a church. There is nothing like that. We can't go to Norway 1992. It's just life got in a way. And we were away. So I explained, it's been 26 years since the band was started. It's been about 20 years since I and the band was on stage. And now we're going to play this show. And that's about it. There's no apologizing. There's nothing empty promises to be made. We just want to deliver this good show. So without no more words, we just play the show. And I feel like suddenly all the nervousness after like half a song, maybe, it's all gone. We are on stage and we do good. I feel like we are actually delivering, maybe even better than I was expecting. So after the show, I'm like, fuck, that was really, really nice. And no, I know the chemistry. Like there was one member in the band who was like a little bit disappointed. I think he made some mistakes, but only which he recognized happening. The rest of us, and I think the audience, really didn't see any problem with any of that, show or songs being played. So I got this kind of a high feeling, and I was like, "Fuck, that felt so crazy good." Like, well, there was even this 20 years gap or pause or whatever. So, yeah, felt really, really good. Like for 2 days straight, I felt like as if I had accomplished something bigger. Which reminds me, sometimes you really have to have those nervous moments in your life because the older you become, the rarer they are. I mean, I only gotten lately, like past 10 years or so, having this weird, butterflies in my tummy kind of a feeling only a couple of times. And it's always been before competition. Like before we had this small grappling competition, like submission grappling. I remember getting super nervous just before my fight. And then it was gone after a few seconds because it's the adrenaline rush that, comes in and then you're into action. The second time I remember getting it was when I was at my very first, I think it was first one, the deadlift competition, even though it was a kind of a gym Christmas party. But nonetheless, there were audience having beers, staring at the motherfucker that is me. And at first I feel like kind of nervous. I have to accomplish something here, even though nobody would give a fuck if I pulled or failed. So, and at this stage, you once again have this weird feeling like, okay, this is the moment, where you're supposed to prove something. And for me, it felt mentally really, really good, to do something that you don't do ordinary days, things that you don't do every day, those days. So my point here is it's really good to step out of your comfort zone to do something else which you don't necessarily do every day. It might be your gig, it might be your poem reading night or your spelling contest or going on a date or I don't know what kind of sports thing you have going on. Maybe you do TED Talk. Thing here is step out of your comfort zone, go there and conquest, or conquer. Be this person you're not normally. Step beyond that. Step up and show that, hey, I'm not afraid. I can pull it off. And it gives you a fucking high feeling, man. And I think it's really, really good to get these kind of things done. Now, obviously, because we got so good feeling about the gig because it was so good. Obviously, we're now like super stoked to write more songs, to get back for real, not just one this show. Because a lot of people were asking, like, so was this only this one show? And I was like, fuck no. I wouldn't have spent 6 months and lots of money to just play for one show because there's no fucking point, man. It was never about money, obviously, but the thing here is there's no point to make just one show to play for some, I don't know, 300 drunken people. So obviously we're back for good. We want to do music. We're going to do more shows. And maybe, hopefully, for the first time ever, go beyond the boundaries of Finland. I don't know where and when we will play, but I would be fucking shocked if we didn't play gigs here and there, outside Finland as well. I don't know about tours. I don't think we're a touring band. I guess we're kind of like too old for that. I mean, too much things going on. But yeah, I would definitely like to see Nightside going back on doing gigs and doing music. And we're actually going to have tomorrow around this time, maybe, well, a little bit earlier than this, but roughly in 24 hours, we're going to have our first rehearsal after the gig. And because most of the debriefing, if you will, it's already been done. It's not like we have to talk so much about like what went well and what didn't go that well at the show but it's more about what we're going to do next, what kind of songs we will perform, what kind of new songs we will actually do, and how it then going to fold out. So my point here to sum it up is it's fucking good to play in a band. Once again, I don't know why we needed this kind of a break. I mean, my other band, Annihilatus, it's not hasn't been on a break, but when it comes to playing a gig, playing live, 20 years feels fucking long, man. But yeah, that's the story. So I hope you people got to know Nightside. There's some clips. You can find some clips on YouTube and at least on Nightside's Facebook page. I posted one rather okay live clip, so you get the idea how we look on stage, how we sound on stage. Of course, the sound could always be a lot better, but still. And of course, if you want to listen to the music, well, you can just type Nightside at the End of Christianity on YouTube search and you get the full album, minus that one track which was never released on the CD because of the label's fault. It is, however, on the vinyl, which is sold out. And there's supposed to be a new batch, like the official reissue of the CD and the first time on tape, the whole deal. And that will have also the last track, which was missing with the first print, called Battlestorm. So go check out the music, and I hope you like it. It is very, very 1990s melodic black metal, mostly fast tempo ways. So if you don't like 1990s melodic black metal, it's very unlikely that you're gonna like Nightside's music either. But if you like bands that came, 1990s, the melodic ways, I think Nightside might be your cup of tea. And now I will read your comments, so give me a little bit of a break and I will get back to you. So let's read about the comments. Yeah, Horn was, by the way, playing there as well. They were headlining the festival's Friday night. We're not headlining, and I'm happy about it. We wanted to do our show like relatively early because we felt like then it's done and over with, and we get to just chill down and drink a couple of beers, and we don't have to wait the whole evening to play our show. But the curious thing is, we played our show right after Chambers of Unlight, which then again feature quite many Horna members. So there's that. Sam N is asking, what is my opinion about South American early black metal? Well, I think it's very, very important part of the whole deal here to have this kind of a prototype of black metal, even though it's maybe more black trash, technically speaking. But I like the sheer violence and kind of I wouldn't call it primitive, but the rawness of it all. I mean, it's very, very energetic and all. And it's very different from the more sophisticated style, what especially Nordic black metal bands did. So it's interesting. Maybe not so much musical quality, but it's an important link in the whole black metal history, if you will. Yeah, Jonas Ness, if you're checking out those bands, check out them. They have some friends of mine playing, not exactly my kind of bands musically, but yeah, interesting to see for sure. I've seen them, so, or at least Pyhä Kuolema. So yeah, that's about it. What else? Yes, thank you, Aske. I am also happy about it. Jack Wayne, what do you want to be pronounced? Moloth or Meleth? I don't know how it's actually said about, but yeah. Yeah, Nato, I don't see us being headliner band, but yeah, I think Nightshade could be you know, accompanying some bigger band. But then again, sometimes those bigger bands kind of want money for the support bands, and it's like not like Nightside has any kind of a budget for that sense. And second of all, I don't think we're that much into touring. But yeah, I mean, War Moon Lord, which also played at Turku Saatanale Fest on Friday. I mean, for example, they have some gigs in the United States. So, maybe Nightside could do something else like that. All right, thanks for the feedback, Jack Wayne. By the way, we never played at Noctum live. It was one of the latest songs on the album, if I remember correctly. There was a little bit of kind of hurried feeling with the vocals, so I'm still not very super happy about how the vocals turned out for the whole album. I mean, it's a list of small mistakes or something that I would have rather corrected if I had the chance. But well, what is done is done. I think the vocals were a lot better live, both in the sense of rawness as well as how the mistakes were corrected. Sorry, the Desolate one. I still haven't checked it out. Just too much on my plate. Hello, MB. Yes, I know Grausam Kite by name, but to be honest, I've felt the band is like too much getting this kind of a cringe kind of a hype. So I never got too much interested in checking it out. To be honest, because I review so much all the time, all kind of underground, mostly black metal, but also death metal bands and other styles. I've been actually listening to some more kind of well, mainstream music lately. For example, lately I've been going through a Pantera discography, which is quite some different considering that I recently went through Edge of Sanity discography and did my worst to best video. Way too lengthy a video, but that's another story, which will be out, let me see, in 2 weeks. Yeah. So, wanted to do something else. And Pantera felt like a nice thing to do because it's something that I grew up with. Not the whole discography, that is, but, couple of albums basically. And then I promised to do this band for worst to best. I'm not going to pronounce it out loud, so you actually have to pay attention. But yeah, that I hope to do because Pantera is planned to be out in yeah, it's Sanity. It's March, so Pantera is supposed to be out like in mid-April, and then I'm heading for this one because you all know how much I like the band. Well, not so much about the synth albums, but yeah. So let's see. MB, sorry, I don't know about record store doing Ukrainian fundraisings. Um, I think actually that a lot of metal people, especially when we're talking about black metal, kind of want to steer away from any kind of political involvement in the whole Ukraine Russia thing. Um, I knew that when I was going to post about this charity thing, I could have just kept my mouth shut. That some people are going to react, and of course, not in a positive way. But yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. We all know that black metal is so much about Satan and destruction and war and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, dark topics and all that stuff. So some people might feel like, okay, you write down these kind of lyrics and you're supporting these kind of bands. So aren't you kind of a hypocrite for suddenly, donating money for any kind of a cause? And yeah, I realize there is this kind of a weird feeling like, hey, maybe not so much double standards, but kind of a hypocritical. So you're ready to sing about these topics, about this and that. but suddenly you're ready to donate money. And aren't you kind of a nihilist, Rauta? Like, what is going on with you? But I don't think things are like that kind of a black and white. And you don't have to be an NSBM person to choose a side with these kind of situations. So I think it's more complicated than that. It's not also like, hey, I want a virtue signal, about this kind of stuff and blah blah blah. You know, for me, it's more like this: help a brother out. I've always been there for my brothers, my good friends, and all that stuff. And I don't see anything wrong with that. Help a friend out. So, be it or not against the black metal rules or whatever, I don't give a fuck. To be honest, I don't have time to worry about things like that. But I also realize a lot of bands want to stay away from that kind of stuff because it would raise a lot of questions. So, you're this badass band singing about war, and now you're helping kids? So you are telling about nihilist comments like destroy whole human race, and suddenly you're helping women and kids in need. You get the idea. So it's complicated. It's not easy time for being a extreme metal band. You want to sing about war and destruction and fuck the whole planet, and suddenly, hey, take my money. We want to help you out because you need help. So yeah, I wonder what Sabaton really thinks about it. I mean, they just put out an album, War to End All Wars. They're the number one war metal band, if you really think about the topics. Do Sabaton really worry about people of Ukraine or Russia? I don't know. I don't really care. Oh, what else? Question from Jack Wayne. Favorite Ukrainian BM band? I'm kind of bound to say Drudk, even though I don't even fan them so much. Um, the biggest thing is I don't really have Ukrainian favorites, but they're decent bands. But some of them are more on the death metal side, like Precambrian, which is technically speaking much like Hate Forest with another name. But I guess Drudk would be my safe bet when it comes to Ukrainian BM bands. Yeah, Chuck Wayne, those are good choices when talking about Pantera. I will not, of course, name my favorites and least favorites from Pantera at this time. I will save it for the video. But let's just say they created this groove metal that no other band is able to do. So why they also did kind of a shitty stuff with music, they also made some great ones. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about it, and I don't care if people don't like it. There are lots of people who just hate or dislike Pantera because they're kind of a big, they're kind of redneckish, and they bring the kind of unwanted fans to metal scene. But hey, it is what it is. So, Nedred, what do you think about Lord of Chaos now that I've seen it? And hello, Natalie, nice to have you here. Prost. Not right. Actually, iodine tablets were like sold out from pharmaceutical stores here in Finland for a period of time. So some people are getting crazy about it. We don't have it, and I know that it's kind of a pointless to have them like stored too much. But some people are crazy about it. Check Wayne, I like your comparison with Vikings. I like those kind of metaphors and comparisons. I do them quite often myself. And yes, I think it's like that. Yes, good show. And it's nice to have those Christians getting killed by Vikings. But once again, if you want historical accuracy, well, things are not that simple, really. Nato, nah, I don't need a bunker. I guess I will just die, and then all my problems are solved if it comes to that. Of course, I don't die. I don't hope to die because of some asshole in Russia. But I mean, if that is bound to happen, is it really up to my choosing? I guess not. MB, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think what matters is that it's more about, because we're not lone wolves. I'd rather see we're a pack of wolves. Maybe we're not even wolves. Maybe we're, I don't know, dogs. Humans are more like dogs than wolves, I guess. The thing here is we are pack animals. And I've always kind of smirked at this idea, like how so many black metal warriors out there want to see themselves like lone wolves. But in reality, lone wolves are not like a big success. It's more of a concept that everybody wants to be a fucking lion king, but they don't want to have the family. It's like they want to be these Rob Darkin of Graveland kind of things, fighting against the enemy alone in the forest. But what if you're already alone in the forest? Like, then there are no enemies. My point here is lone wolf concept is kind of a paradox. And at the same time, a lot of power fantasy related to black metal is like, yeah, I want to be this lone warrior, living in those forests and woods with my shotgun or assault rifle. But that means also that you don't have friends. You don't have people that actually care about you. So I don't know if it's so much a thing about to brag about. I mean, I'd rather see cool people to be kings of other cool people, leaders, not followers, pack animals in that sense, because that's what we essentially are. And so, lone wolves, sorry, you're going to go extinct. But the thing here is with black metal, especially, but that can be applied to other genres as well, is that you kind of have to endorse certain kind of individualism. So you kind of have to be this strong individual, which means you don't get to drink, you don't get to do drugs, you don't get to do hookers. You're supposed to work out. You're supposed to, train your martial arts skills, which you actually can hone to the max by yourself. You need friends to do that. So, being an alpha male or alpha female means that in order to be alpha, you have to have that pack because you're not alpha if you're alone. Get my idea? So lone wolves can just suck off my tit. So there's that. So I'd rather see help a brother out and keep your pack together. That's what motorcycle gangs do. Do they boast around the internet? I'm this lone wolf. I have my own one-man motorcycle gang. Because that's not really something to brag about. That's just pathetic and sad. But yeah, what do I know? What do I know? I know jack shit. What else? Once again, getting you back to your questions, comments. Ask is making a good question. Do I distinguish between music and the person behind it? Well, yes and no. Obviously, when you have bands like this one, you're kind of bound to have it that one person thing. That is, this one person who writes all the riffs, chooses the cover arts, write the lyrics, makes the comments, does the statements, does the interviews. I mean, and it is this one man. This one man band is in kind of incarnated in this band. Yet at the same time, I feel, for example, because I do a lot of lyrics, that you can really separate the artist from the art. Like, I mean, there are directors which can do really violent movies, yet at the same time, they can be saying this is actually anti-violence. There are lots of examples with that. But for example, what's Michael Haneke movies? And you get maybe what I'm after here. So once again, you can be an artist, for example, writing really horrible lyrics, and yet at the same time, it doesn't really mean that you're supposed to think and believe and hope that these horrible stories are actually going to happen. So it's more about this kind of a chronicler you are in a way, a storyteller. You can still tell a lot of horrible stories. And that doesn't mean that you're actually hoping them to happen. So, in my opinion, the art and the art always have to be separated, even though if it means they're married. And I use the word married because it's like married couples. You might think that, married couple, like a man and a woman, it can be two guys or two gals. That doesn't change anything here. But you have this couple, and you think they're like one and the same. Yet in reality, they are more like yin and yang, black and white, light and shadow. They might need each other. They might love each other. They might support one another in so many cases. But they might also have this multitude of fights and disagreements. Like one would say, fuck that. And the other is like, no, love that. It's not like married couple, for instance, agrees on everything. It doesn't mean that they vote the same person in a presidential election or whatever, or any kind of, ordinary, mundane things. So, in this respect, also, I mean, an artist can say one thing and his or her art can mean another thing. This applies to people like Burzum and Varvikernes. This also applies to some crazy painters or directors or actors. I mean, actor can actually choose to, you know, play a role of an asshole, murderer, or I don't know, child molester. And it doesn't mean that this person actually wants to do that. But somebody has to do those asshole roles also. If there are no actors who are ready to play the roles of shitty villains, we wouldn't have those great movies. So I think we, the audience, we always have to distinguish the artist from the art. It is two different things. Be it music or be it sculpting or painting or theater, movies, doesn't really matter. They are two separate things, even though we feel like they overlap or are indeed married to each other. This is how I feel about it. I don't say some other person needs to think like that, but that's how I feel about it. So music might reflect the person, but it doesn't mean they are one and the same. What else? Reading once again your comments in case you're wondering what I'm doing here. Oh, and hello, Metalheim. Nice to have you here in stream as well. Not already. Yeah, I said it. It's definitely an entertaining movie. I mean, facts might be a little bit this and that and all that stuff, but I mean, yeah. And of course, Varg was portrayed as the villain of the movie because really audience wants things emphasized, like more black and white, Um, so I think that's the reason why Varg wasn't such a neutral person in that stuff. Yeah, I do that alone in the first album. I'm looking forward to it. Your personal pagan black metal thing. Dorian E is asking if I'm a fan of professional wrestling. I actually used to be. I used to watch those whatever they're called now, WWE thing, like can't fuck anymore remember the names of the shows we had in Finland. I mean, more limited than obviously in United States, but yeah, I used to watch them and they were entertaining. I think they were once well described as male versions of soap opera. So where other people are watching Bold and the Beautiful and things like that, the more like traditional. Oh, Rich, did you really cheat on me with that nasty secretary? I did. What about that? I still love you, bro. Crazy shit. We guys are like, I need to conquer you with all my muscles and body and crazy shit. And then you wrestle and make those crazy jumps and fake punches and all that shit. And you're like, making these exaggerated, faces like, I'm gonna destroy you. Stunned I am. And that's kind of a, the dumbified version for us guys. Hey, I got my potato chips right here. I got my, redneck beer. This is some good show. Those guys are not playing role. They're doing for the real deal. Yeah. We need that kind of a dumb thing. Dumb entertainment, if you will. So there's place for pro wrestling, but I think it's kind of a goofy at the same time. Let's be honest about it. Oh, hello, Bellstad. Nice to have you. How are you doing in Sweden? 24 HEB is asking what I think about Black Dahlia murder. Well, I think they're big and successful, and I do think they do they stuff well. Never been exactly my kind of a band. I think it's way too metalcore for my liking, at least what I can remember from the band. But I haven't been listening to Black Dahlia murder for years and years, so can't say too much about their current state. Yeah, one man wolf pack finding beauty in darkness. Good luck with that. Maybe you need a flashlight. Jack Wayne, yeah, that's one. The cool thing about hip hop is that it feels more dangerous than metal, really. Well, yeah, Kevin Spacey, what a great actor, but also a real life villain. Yeah, that's what happened. Um, what else? Belston is asking interesting question. This year's Call of Duty, will it be any good? That's left to be seen. Let's be honest about it. Call of Duty has mostly been quite okay. I mean, most of the games have been good, at least as far as I've been playing. But then again, I haven't been playing any new Call of Duty games for, I don't know, past 4 years, or I guess, because they're releasing a new game every year. So I've been missing out some of the late Call of Duty games, but I'm staying positive about it. And that there will be no Call of Duty in 2023, meaningless for me. Do I like ice hockey? No, I don't. I don't like playing it. It can be mildly entertaining if I see it sports, but nah, not my cup of tea. I haven't heard the latest Mortuary Drape. The Jasons asked me that. Natalie, don't be such a hater. There's some cool core things. Not that it's not my thing either. Yeah. Oh, there's a pro wrestling boom in Japan. Yeah, yeah, yep. I remember as kids in the 1980s, obviously pro wrestling was fun to watch, but then it kind of faded away because it was never that big in Finnish TV. But I think with those early 2000s, around 2004, 2005, when I saw some of that in TV, and it was kind of a funny because it was so goofy, kind of a no-brain entertainment, if you will. And of course, those well-trained bodies, doing their stunts, it's always impressive. And let's be honest about it, there's a lot of charismatic people. The Rock Johnson comes to my mind as the first thing. I enjoy his movies most of the time. I think that guy has massive amount of charisma and some cool attitude. So it's not about just physique, and it's not about making those stunts. It's also about having that charisma and being able to pull it off. Even though that can be seen as a macho bullshit thing, but then again, I think only non-macho people have problem with it. So there's that. It's like ugly people hating beautiful people. You get the idea. Jarolab is asking me a very, very random question. How good are you on a skateboard? I would suck. I had a skateboard when I was around 15 years of age, and I tried to do very, very basic thing, but I soon realized it's not for me. Never hated the sports. I actually like when people can do crazy stunts with skateboard and whatnot. but not my thing. But yeah, we had that scene as well. Oh, Huya Kurvinski just woke up and commenting the Jizz and the Ancient Ones beer, which I had here earlier on. Now empty bottle. So commenting on that about the music stuff. I've never been into occult rock, and I've seen Chess on stage, and it's still not my cup of tea. But at least I know they're doing well with their given style. Oh, Natalie, I feel sorry for you if you had to date. You should rather date me than a core guy, so I get you. Um, yes, Metalheim, I agree that war is definitely part of mankind. We can never get rid of it, I think. But a lot of, I think younger people are kind of making the mistake of thinking like, yeah, because, we are having these war metal bands and we are having these black metal and death metal bands that we somehow have to celebrate war as a great thing. But it's one thing to, do your own shitty war metal riffs at home than to actually, you know, see or feel real life violence. That's another deal. I think it would do a lot good for metal people singing about these topics to go into martial arts classes to get even a slightest idea of feeling how it feels to be punched in the face. That would give them perspective, and that's another story still than say street violence. Now, give me 30 seconds of a break. I will fetch another beer because it seems like this stream is not over after what 72 minutes. I need a beer. And this time it's going to be some almost local beer. We were at the Spot last week and I went to this local brewery from Nokia, small city by Tampere. Tampere being one of the, say, black metal capitals in Finland for bands like Horna and stuff like that. So went to get this pizza ale. Actually, very drinkable, almost like lager kind of a beer, but very suited, well suited for these kind of streams. Okay, so let's make this popping sound because they're so fucking cool, man. What a disappointment. Not a proper pop. All right, we're reading your comments and this is a weird question by Bellstat. What would happen if 2022 Cherry met 1993 Cherry? I think 2022 Cherry would teach 1993 Cherry a lot of life things. I guess a lot of truths would be shed in a brutal way, and 1993 Cherry would be very confused. Like, really? Is life like that? Yeah, bitches are cold, beer is too warm, people are assholes, everybody is eventually going to die, you are not immortal, you should start working out now, not in 2000s, and don't be a prick, be good to good people, and the rest can pretty much fuck off and die. That would be roughly the sum up 2022 Jerry would give to 1993 Jerry. And then 1993 Jerry would be all confused and get drunk. That's my estimation of how things would be. And probably 1993 Jerry would get more laid after meeting 2022 Jerry because of the advices taken. Yeah. Yeah, gotta say, never been into core kind of stuff. The only core kind of related stuff is something when it's like hardcore punk, but metalcore and deathcore and stuff like that. I always feel like it's a compromise I'm not willing to have. Core bands are often trans women, and I'm more into regular women. No gyro lamp. I weighted like 60 kilos in 1993. I kid you not. I've always been very, very skinny. If I already had muscles in 1993, obviously I would be a lot bigger now. But I started, working out as late as 2008. Um, but I wasn't that skinny anymore in before that because I started martial arts on regular basis around 2000. But yeah, I was still kind of a skinny kid. So if people would actually see my old photos, which I randomly post on Facebook and Instagram whenever I can find them, you can see the difference. So yeah, Cherry in 1993 was something like almost 40 kilos smaller than nowadays, Cherry. Yeah, Aske, if you do like occult rock, check out Jess and the Ancient Ones, definitely. Dorian, we have either mandatory military training or civil service. The mandatory military service, I think the minimum age, not minimum age, but the minimum amount of service is like 6 months versus, I think at least it used to be like 13 months if you do civil service. But civil service, then again, isn't for 24/7 so much. So it's compensated in that. And then there's third alternative, which is prison. So usually people either go for the military service or then civil service. MB, my bench press sucks. I'm still at only like 120 kilos, one rep max. I'm weak on bench because my triceps are weak. I've been trying to figure out how to make myself stronger, but it has been like slow gains. And I met those Blood Jellies guys last weekend when we played the gig. So yeah, I see them every now and then. Hockey's beer never ends. When it ends, I don't know what would be worse, having no sex or no beer. Well, having no sex would be worse. I mean, I could live on coffee anyway, but beer is important. Um, They'll start asking if I do like ciders. Yes, I do. Dry ones. I actually had one cider from the very same brewery as this one. Wasn't dry enough. I like my ciders like I do like my women. Dry and evil. Okay, that came out wrong, but you get the idea. I mean, you have to have that kind of a sting in both, that kind of a sharpness, If they're just sweet and nice and all that stuff, like pink color, get the fuck out of there, you know. But dry humor, dry cider, dry women. Okay, once again, that joke didn't fly. Let's forget about it. Yeah, but good ciders are really good. The kind of English ciders, I do like them a lot. Cheryl, I'm gonna say I don't know Artosar. I never followed the skateboarding scene. I mean, I know those Tony Hawk games and all that stuff, but I really don't know anybody famous in Finland for skateboarding. But yeah, cool. Thanks, Chuck Wayne. Glad you liked the Blood Jellies interview. They are nice guys. I see those guys every now and then, and yeah, it was fun. If I could do, I would do more gym interviews. Um, Gerald is asking, like, did I know any other metal musicians back then in 1993? I think I started to know metal musicians at around 1993. I mean, that's when I moved to another city. I turned 18 in 1993. So that's how I kind of started, going into the scene, if you will. I started to meet people who play instruments, who play the music, who had bands. I had my first band in 1994, and we played death metal, the kind of a traditional ones. But I don't have any, rehearsal tapes. But 1994, when our first band was founded, it was via friends at school, basically. So we just started doing something, and that something was death metal. Didn't last too long, maybe a year or so. And by the time school was over in 1995, the band was like vanished, disbanded, and pretty much of us all went into different directions. And that band was no more. And then I had another band in around 1995 or so, which was kind of a hardcore punk or whatever. And 1996, I joined Nightside. So every year, I ended up meeting more and more people who played in bands. So essentially, becoming friends with various musicians and all that stuff. And of course, via Nightside, and because I've always been very social, both in real life as well as on the internet, I got to befriend a lot of guys also in black metal scene and death metal scene in the late and mid 90s. So yeah, that's pretty much the story. Dorian didn't understand my core analogy about women. I was saying, okay, let me rephrase. Metalcore and deathcore and stuff like that, it's much like emo kids, emo girls, emo women. I'm not into that kind of type of women. It's it's too much, I guess, a kind of American mall core kids, if you know what I mean. I'm not saying I'm necessarily not into you know traditional or modern type of women, but I feel like it's just not my thing, if you really get it. uh they're probably just having different kind of values and different kind of mindsets when it comes to life in the world. So there's that. Yeah, Gyro Lamp. Basically, two people in Blood Chalice are Chuck and Big, the vocalist and the drummer. The two guys, not so much. I don't think Belstad is asking if mentally unstable people are eligible for military service or for civil service. No, I think they are freed from service. They don't get to do neither. Hello, Black Metal follower. Um, what is FNAF SB? I've been doing fine. How are you, man? What kind of a bottle of cider you're having? Skull. MB is asking an interesting question. Anybody stick out in your mind that you met back when they were nobody, and nowadays there's somebody? Um, that's a hard question because I really have to think about it. Um, I don't know if anybody I knew back in the days are exactly big nowadays. There might be some which I could be forgetting, but I think most of the people who have been in the metal scene, be it 90s or early 2000s, have been relatively small. I mean, a number of people have quit playing music altogether, and a lot of, well, most people have been, kind of steadily growing with their bands like Horna and stuff like that. Um, I guess the biggest one could be Satanic War Master, because I mean, if you look at his social media presence, for instance, it's a lot bigger than with bands like Horna and other Finnish black metal bands. But still, I mean, it's not like he's celebrity here in Finland or anything like that. Because to be honest, none in the Finnish metal scene are exactly big, and I really can't say that I know people outside Finland that well. So basically, nobodies are still nobodies. Well, maybe there are somebodies, but I mean, if there were nobodies back in the 90s, they are still basically unknown to the mainstream. So, from mainstream perspective, everybody is still a nobody, even if they make money and with their bands and labels and live off with that. But still, best Goat Moon release in my opinion. Well, never been a Goat Moon fan, so I'm wrong person to answer that. Um, that's an interesting question by Belstad. Like, what did my parents think of getting into black metal back into my young days? Now, when I got to into black metal, I was already living on my own, so it's not like my parents were like too much aware of that. But at some point, I think it was roughly 1998, my mom actually asked me if I was a Satan worshiper, because my mom's husband, which is not my dad, uh, has two kids. And the older one of these kids, who is younger than me, had probably learned from some TV that people listening to extreme metal are sometimes Satan worshippers. So, as a teenager, I guess she was worried about, or something like that, or curious to say the least, that if I had something on going with the Satanist approach, Satan worshipping and all that stuff. And my mom always been rather courageous person and has guts to ask things straight. She was like asking like, "So my son, are you a Satan worshiper?" And I laughed like, "No." I didn't tell her the full truth about how I despised Christianity and how I kind of hoped that those churches would burn and all that stuff. But I've lectured over the years how much I do indeed disrespect Christian church and the religion and all that stuff. So she probably knows my point and stand, but I explained I'm no worshiper because I don't worship anything. But yeah, no real concern about my musical tastes or bands I've been part of. But questions arose and they were answered. Oh, black metal follower, ain't Copper Batty like too sweet for you? I mean, it would be Copper Batty would be too sweet for me anyway. I'm more in the drier side. And yeah, we do have Copper Batty in Finland. It's relatively common, not the top three in size, I guess, but yeah, Copper Batty is a known brand here. Um, Black metal follower is asking, what is my knowledge of rock and roll or metal bands using World War II clothing and medals and images? Where does it coming from? I can't say there is a one single reason why bands want to do it. One thing obviously is that some bands wanted to shock people. That's why there was this thing called shock rock in the 80s. Bands had kind of a dangerous appeal, uh, dangerous lyrics, and all that stuff. And then, of course, Lemmy of Motorhead fancied just collecting war items, no matter what country or what kind of ideology was present. He liked the visuals and the style, aesthetics. And of course, war has been always part of human history, like, for example, Metalheim here stated. So I think there is a multitude of reasons why different bands wanted to flirt with war, especially with the Second World War. Now you have to understand, collecting Second World War memorabilia and stuff like that is way more easier than, I don't know, collecting swords or armor from Middle Ages. I mean, first of all, the more recent stuff you have, the easier it is to collect. Of course, because World War II was so much more, well, it was a lot bigger than any of the previous wars around the world. Obviously, you had more people invested in that. So there's more stuff, laying around. So there is this link to things being easy. I mean, if you have easy access to, say, World War II items, obviously you rather get that than some more obscure war stuff. And for example, Vietnam War was never part of European countries. So it's not like you would see Vietnam War stuff going around here in Finland or European countries. But World War II, very much so. So I think that explains a lot why interest in that particular war was so much made. But yeah, different people have different reasons. Some people like guns and they collect guns, whether or not they were used in war. Some people just like the aesthetics, like how uniforms look like. And some people just want to have those medals because they look precious and they're rare. So various people's various reasons. I don't think there's any one particular reason why a certain kind of a war is so much seen or the others in terms of collecting items. Who is the nicest person in the Finnish black metal scene? Oh shit! Uh, Other people would say, "Oh my god, that is no." I'd say, "Oh my god, I don't believe in God," but I would say like, "Oh shit, that's an interesting question because that's not a very obvious thing to get asked, and that's not the easiest thing to answer." I really have to think about it because there are plenty of nice people in black metal scene in Finland, and it's hard to just say one particular person who would be that. Some of course are more, you know more the nice type, nicer people in general, more welcoming and warm, and some are how to say, more non-social or maybe more reserved in how they act. Um, to name a one person, if I say one person, I'm probably gonna ignore and forget some other people. In a way, I would kind of say one of the nicest people in Finnish black metal scene must be Venom. That is who also plays, for example, bass in Horna. I think he's one of the friendliest dudes you will ever meet in Finnish black metal scene. I would say our drummer is one of those guys as well. Like a really, really friendly and helpful guy. No ego things going on, and not any kind of a rock star dumb, you know. But most Finnish people are actually very nice if you really get to know them. I mean, if you go beyond the role of being a black metal musician. So Hard to say just one, but there are plenty of very, very nice and decent people in the scene. Yeah, Jarrell, people were kind of a push to go to the church. For example, even school times, you kind of were forced to take part of going to the church, like Christmas, church, and other such events. So definitely, it was there. Finland is now more secular in ways. Dorian, yeah, that gold moon interview is not likely to happen. I met Jaakko, Black Goat, in last August at the Steel Hordes event, and I was asking like, "Hey, what's going on with the interview we already agreed some like 2 3 years ago?" And he was like, "I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it." Like, why? And he's not. He's in a different place mentally now, and I think he got regrets. Maybe he got cold feet. In terms of speaking English, but also like what kind of expectations there would be. So, as it seems, Goat Moon interview is not going to happen, unfortunately. 24 HEB is asking like about Slipknot. Well, I think Slipknot is very, very a pro band. The only album by them which I have heard and enjoyed is the second one, Iowa, um, which is actually pretty good and violent, almost death metallic album. But I think it's mostly too core for me. And I don't think they're posers. I think they're doing their own shit and they have been able to make it very, very successful. So, in that respect, I have no problem with that. It's just not musically my cup of tea. But they're coming to my home city in about 6 months. So, obviously, I hope I get to interview those guys. I don't know if they do interviews with such a small media, if you want to call Rauta media in the first place. But I tried to get an interview with them. Let's see if that happens. I mean, it would be really, really cool to feature them, even if a lot of people won't necessarily like them. But I don't care about that. I like to interview people and bands, so let's hope that it will happen. Yeah, Alexa Beltram, I think Marduk got accused of Nazi thing because, well, they ordered some stuff online and because they featured this kind of non-popular ways of bringing forth Second World War with their albums. But then again, I mean, they have done lots of historical stories with other events as well, so there's that. Belson, I gotta say, I'm not in particular very much into the more noisier side of black metal. For example, the Portuguese style of black metal is mostly just, I don't know, lack of good riffs. I don't mind noisier being noisier. I mean, there's noise core genre for a reason, but when bands kind of lack good riffs and good composition, I think it's more of a waste of time. But there are lots of different people who want that, so whatever. Is it lucky that was already asked me about the best Ukrainian band? I don't really have favorites in the Ukrainian scene, but I guess Drudk would be my favorite one. The Mikko Aspa interview is something that has been requested from me a few times, and I spoke to Mikko Aspa last August about it. Like, could we do it? And he said it's very possible to do it at some point, but maybe not so much his face shown. It was already supposed to happen last year, but I don't know. It got postponed. But Mikko Aspa interview is still in the works, and it should happen. But really can't promise you anything. it depends on him. Doreen, the thing here is I don't like groovy stuff that much, so there's that. Life Lover, I think it's a rather interesting band, even though the guy seems to be a kind of a mess. Um, can't remember the name of my favorite ones. I will tell you in a little bit. It's on the tip of my tongue, but the album name is Concours, I think was the album I liked the most. Yeah, their music is strange. Life Lover definitely had some unique thing going on. All right, Natalie, thanks for being part of the stream. Take care and have a good weekend. Oh, thank you, MB. The fact is, even though Rauta has been here almost 5 years now, it's still relatively small. I mean, 12,000 subscribers, it's not really much. I mean, in the terms of labels and the amount how reviews are seen, they're small numbers, really. So I don't think Rauta is a big thing in that sense. There are a lot bigger uh, music channels like Banger and that one reaction channel, which I always remember. What's the name? So Rauta is not big. I mean, I do have those underground interviews, and I do have already more than 100 interviews out in less than 5 years. So I think it's quite a nice amount of interviews. But let's be honest about it. Most of those interviews are more for marginal people, more in the extreme side of people in terms of metal, that is. So it's not like Rauta has been doing, big interviews with bands like Metallica or Iron Maiden or Judas Priest. You get the idea. Um, I don't mean to belittle what I have done and what the channel is all about. And I know that a lot of labels do know Rauta these days. A lot of bands do know Rauta, and I get a lot of contact with bands and labels. But still, in terms of like the big picture, Rauta is seen quite a small player in that sense. So there is a lot of work to be done to kind of convince people like, hey, this is some decent stuff, and maybe you will like the content here and blah blah blah. But I don't worry too much about it. I just do my own shit, and if somebody doesn't like it, hey, too bad. I mean, I don't want to make compromises just because I don't get maybe not as many views or subscribers than some other fans have. Maybe they are more pro. I'm not a pro. I just do my shit, and if somebody doesn't like it, it's fine. It's like, who cares? That's why I have my day job, like to pay my bills and to live a nice life. Rauta is just a hobby, and that's why I can make my choices much like small indie bands. I mean, the bigger you get, then you're kind of a more bound to make different kind of choices, and I don't want to be really part of that. So I'm totally comfortable here where it is. Now, that being said, though, I wouldn't mind if Rauta was bigger, because bigger would mean I would have more access to bands. So I now with this size, I always kind of try to I have to convince people like, hey, this is what I do, this is what the channel is all about, and blah blah blah. So I always kind of have to do these sales pitches like, hey, Rauta is this kind of channel, we have these kind of amounts of blah 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 interviews and amount of views and blah blah blah. It's not like a big household name, really. So there are downsides, of course, that this is not some, I don't know, 50,000 subscriber channel or 100,000 subscriber channel. Of course, there's a lot of extra work because of that. But hey, it is what it is. I'm not going to complain about it. It just is how it is. Um, I would definitely love to interview Inquisition. I don't know if and when that is possible, but I would definitely love to do that. Bellstad, yeah, I've been wondering about the same thing about Mikko Aspa and his face because I mean, really, if you Google him, if you see older interviews by Mikko Aspa, you will see his face right there. So don't know what the fuss is, but we each have weird reasons about it. Dorian is asking me a very good question. Which is the most abhorrent band or person I've interacted with? Now, to be honest, I've been quite lucky with a lot of bands and people in that sense that I haven't really met people that are really bad. Worst, maybe because there are a lot of grand cards. Bad, maybe because some people are really racist and all that stuff, or just shitty in behavior. But I can't say I've met a lot of like people I would like to totally be like how to say not in touch with at all. Like I know there are people like that, but personally I haven't met the kind of a shitty type. I mean really, really shitty type. I've met violent people. I've met a lot of people who have no control of their substance abuse. But really abhorrent people, really shitty people, to be honest, not. So I guess it makes me the lucky one. Well, I don't know about Kim Carlson and stuff like that, but before Rauta, we had this prototype of Rauta basically that was done for Finnish internet TV called Moon TV. I can link it once again here. This was done about a year before Rauta started. So, for example, I did with Hypothermia, which has members with the band and Kal, and then there was this Polish band Arcona. So some Finnish interviews as well, but you can skip them. But you will find some of those bands there, like Kal, Hypothermia, and mm, well, at least those, and Arcona. Yes. So check that one out if you want to see that. It was the basically Rauta prototype. You can see the whole thing in one video there. That was Turku Satana number 4. I really gotta check it out if let me see to answer your question. Yeah, Kim Carlson played in Hypothermia and Carl. So maybe that interview is for your liking in that sense. Well, check it out and figure it out. Then you know. Then you know if it's for you. I'm a fan of zines. Yes, good zines. That's why I, for example, have reviewed pretty much all the Bardo methodology issues on Rauta. And whenever I read some interesting zine, I like to talk about it. But I don't, you know, follow the zine scene so much these days. So I don't, for example, know what's going on around with that. Too busy for, to figure out it all. I gotta say, Max Power, I've never been actually actively listening to Negative Plane, but I know the band by name, but I haven't heard it, like the new album or anything. What's my favorite Burzum album? Asked by Paul Welsh. I don't know whether or not I should save it for version worst to best video coming out. I hope in May. But I guess this Lyset tar Oath is still my favorite version LP. I still haven't listened to Kicked Arak on or Hell Ruin. I know them by name, or at least the first one, but I haven't listened to them. Too much review albums constantly coming here. Doreen E is also asking me, have I ever thought about publishing your interviews to website or zine? Well, actually, before Rauta, already 20 years ago, I did this website called Inquisitionist, which featured English interviews and reviews. So I did, for example, interview um, Ball Thrower and Shining back in the days. I've interviewed bands like Ildiarn, early 2000s. So I published those. I also interviewed once upon a time for Finnish Inferno magazine, but haven't really done written interviews for many, many years now. I kind of gave up with that. So nowadays I only focus on doing video interviews, which I like more. There are plenty of people doing written interviews, but not so much people doing video interviews. So that's my chosen format and media nowadays. Barbarian Blood is asking now, like, do I play guitar? Yes, but I'm a shitty guitar player. What's my favorite axe? I don't have really favorites. I only own two cheap Jackson guitars. Um, so I'm not my. I mean, I'm mostly vocalist and guitarist only as the second role. 24 HEB is asking, what's the worst thing that ever happened to me? I really don't know. Probably friends doing suicide. I think that's the shittiest thing. Um, Never been depressed. I'm the kind of anti-depressing person. Uh, Never had, mental issues, and I've been practicing some kind of mental prowess and strength over the years. So it's not likely that I will ever get those. But hey, never say never. Belstad is asking if it's possible to have a Niklas Kvarford interview. Definitely. I actually got a call from Niklas Kvarford like a year ago. And back then it was agreed that it should be done. But I don't know where and when because Niklas has some problems in Finland. So I don't know. What else? Um, Belstad, yes, I'm the very same guy, the Serpent. Serpent is the name I started using in Nightside in late 90s, and that's the name I've been using on imperiumi.net website for past 20 years, that is since 2002, as the review and interview guy. So the same dude. I also used a Serpent nickname in other bands like Annihilatus and also on Inferno magazine Finland. So that's why a lot of people, especially before Rauta started, a lot of people knew me by name Serpent rather than my first name. Nowadays, I guess, especially around, beyond Finland, a lot of people know me by name Rauta because that's more, well, foreign name in that sense than Serpent. But yeah, the same name, Serpent, Jerry, Rauta, same dude. I don't know actually. Raul Mejia is asking what happened to Armor the band. I don't know why Laura quit it. I'm only guessing it didn't fly, and Laura figured out Satanic War Master is going to be bigger than Armor. I don't have exactly favorite Brazilian bands. I guess I never got to like the scene so much. But then again, I must say that I love Arise era Sepultura. So in that respect, I guess I should say Sepultura is my favorite Brazilian band. Evil is also pretty good. Uralic Ace is asking me about Russia Ukraine thing. Yes, I mentioned it earlier on with the stream that the situation is really shitty. I don't think Russia is attacking Finland. That wouldn't make much of a sense. But of course, on general level, I am a little bit worried about the whole war. I don't like it one bit, and I hope that Putin would, remove his forces, or Putin would be removed. So there's that. Belson is asking an interesting and also important question. Uh, are things like substance abuse and mental illness a big thing in Finnish black metal? I don't think it's big, but I think at least, alcohol abuse is in fact a big thing. The thing here is, I don't know if people actually admit it, but a lot of people like to drink a lot. And that so-called black metal elitism is a little bit of a thing of ridicule because a lot of things are like, yeah, black metal, we're elite, we're strong and powerful, but in in reality, they are more drinking booze than working out or being in shape. Uh, and I think Azazel and Satanaki are a good example of when things really go south. Like when you really drink too much, you start, you start um, forgetting a lot of things, and you start babbling a random shit, and nobody takes you seriously. And for example, there was this one really important black metal interview which was supposed to come out already last year, which I did. But that didn't go out because the artist itself was too drunk at the interview. So once the artist saw that actual interview, he was ashamed because he was so fucking drunk. And he probably really didn't even realize he was so drunk. So yeah, I think this booze abuse is kind of a problem in Finnish black metal scene. I don't think so much mental illness is a problem. I mean, obviously, black metal is the kind of a music and scene that attracts more mentally ill people rather than, say, power metal or heavy metal. But I don't think mental illness is that much of a thing in black metal. But substance abuse, and especially with booze, that's a real thing. Yeah. And Finns are drinking a lot on international levels. Not the most alcohol consuming people in the world, but definitely on the top of that list. And that's nothing to boast about. So Finns do drink a lot. And I think that's kind of a problem with the, when people, bands especially, got, more famous, not necessarily acting like rock stars. But when you have free booze, and you have those endless parties, well, that can lead to a lot of problems. So I would say to some degree that, substance abuse is a problem. Dorian is asking question: do I think covering and reporting journalism in the metal scene is profitable? It's mostly not. There are like if I say there's a handful of people who can make their living by doing metal journalism in Finland, I would be exaggerating. Most people can, and that's why they go for what is known as real jobs. Um, it's not profitable to do metal journalism almost in any country. So it's good to have as a hobby. It's good to have as a hobby if you like to interview people, if you like to review albums, and if you like to write about it, because you get like free festival tickets and whatever. But yeah, it's not good for work. So it's not profitable by no means. Russians still remember how they fail in Finland. Yeah, and I hope they will remember that when going to Ukraine. Let's make it clear. I have absolutely nothing against Russian metal people, for instance. Actually, I met a couple of two cool Russian chicks last weekend. One is a friend of mine via mutual friends, like who I got to know last in the past, and one was a friend's new girlfriend. Both are really, really nice chicks, and I know they are not like, yeah, Ukraine, fuck off. I mean, a lot of Russian people probably know that this war fucking sucks, man. But then there are a lot of people who don't know how crazy their leader is, because Russian propaganda is pretty goddamn strong. So people might not understand the whole vastness of the war. Roll. I don't actually have any opinion on Moon Citadel except the one that I reviewed. Um, I mean, Moon Citadel is kind of a side project of Stormhide, and I think it's quite promising. But since I have heard only one album, there's not much for me to say about it. And Darapita is also a band that I haven't heard too much, so I don't really have a strong opinion about it. Do I like Mortuary Drape? Not exactly. I like that they do their own style of music, but that's not for me. Oh, free rate. That's a good question. It's actually funny that basically nobody asks what this Rauta thing is. Well, first of all, uh, when I was choosing a name for the channel, uh, I figured out it had to be some kind of a Finnish word, because if it was once again like Metal Crypt or Metal Zone or any kind of a metal related name, it would be really, really hard to Google. It would be really hard to remember. It would have to be something short and sweet, like one word name, like Rauta. And because I do practice powerlifting, and there is a saying like when you go to the gym in Finnish, that is, you have the saying like, let's go lift some iron. And by iron, it means rauta. So there's this double meaning, like rauta is iron, and iron can be metal, like metal music, but iron can also be the stuff you lift because of, iron barbells and dumbbells and, those plates. So rauta is a short and sweet name, which then again is easy to translate once again. But it's when you Google, it's easy to find names rather than Rauta versus if it would have been iron or steel. And so it's not so common name. It's not so much a cliche, and that Rauta can totally mean both the metal music as well as, well, powerlifting things. So that's the reason for Rauta name. Belsat, yes, Satanaki is very much an alcoholic. I don't know how he's alive, but I wouldn't be surprised if he died of alcohol, really. Finwraith, I have interviewed a lot of people who were drunk. Just check out Paratrum interview, and there was also, like I said, this interview where this one band didn't want his interview to go out because he was too drunk at the interview. Belsat, I think Simo Hauha is legend, but still not known to mainstream people. I mean, he's the kind of a legend people who know war history and stuff like that. But it's not like he's a famous sport athlete or whatever. So Simo Hauha is much like a cult black metal band. Only certain people know him for what he has done, and accomplished, but most people have no clue who he is. Opinion about Finnish language not being Indo-European. I mean, it is what it is, right? Finnish language being related to Hungarian is kind of a funny thing considering Hungary is nowhere near here. But I mean, languages are interesting. I don't care where they're coming from. They are interesting, be it Latin based languages or far Asia or whatever. So I think I find them fascinating. Languages are nice. Yes, barbarian blood. Rauta is iron. 24 HTB. No, she does not. I mean, basically, she can listen to metal, but she's not a big fan of listening to music. So there's that. I don't think a partner in crime or significant other needs to have the same kind of taste for music. I mean, some people find it important, but I don't really think it matters that much. I have had girlfriends who had the same musical taste as I did, and I have had girlfriends who didn't like the same kind of music with me. It's not that important, in my opinion. Yeah, Belstad, it's funny that Danish, Swedish, Norwegian, even Icelandic are very much from the same pool of language. And Finland or Finnish are like, what the fuck is that? Very different. Yeah, it's odd. Icelandic is a little bit, of course, different than Norwegian or Danish or Swedish. But if you go to Iceland, it doesn't sound that much far off. So it's odd. What do you, Aske? What do you mean about PT's PR campaigns related to metal bands? Can you elaborate on that? Yes, Belstad. That's what I mean. It's not that different from other Nordic countries' languages. Finland is just weird mutation. All right, I think the stream is about to end. We've been here for 2 hours. So, do you have some final questions? I will, of course, read what you have written, and then I think I'm off to do a little bit of gaming. Other good bands from Iceland. Well, I don't have any real favorites, but yeah, there are some interesting bands from Iceland. I think my one of my favorite ones is Auden, and Mistyrming is quite okay. And then there are lots of bands which are on the decent side, but not exactly great. Uh, and yeah, of course, Solstafir. Solstafir is good. That could be very well my all-time favorite Icelandic band. Triple six. No, I have no news of deaths of members of Ukrainian metal scene. Thanks for the company, MB, as well. That it has been my pleasure to talk with you, and I'm glad that you asked these interesting questions, because without your questions, I would be just doing some random rambling and all that stuff. And I think I will be seeing you people early April. Let's see what's the first weekend in April. Well, April 2nd would be the first weekend in April. So I think the next live stream will be then. Meanwhile, like I said earlier in the stream, go check out my band Nightside. I wanted to talk to you about it because, you know, well, we had the gig last weekend, first time for 20 years. So it's definitely nice to have people to get to know what's the whole band all about. I will link you once again. So here you have it. And before I go, advertising a little bit. First of all, in case you like the music, you want to support the band, we have these logo shirts available via me or the band's Facebook page. Logo shirts. Nothing on back, just full black shirt with white logo. So it's gonna look like you that on like that. Oh yeah. Oh, this is actually my shirt. And once again, Rauta these shirts once again available. If you want to have both, well, you will save in shipping. So contact me for prices in case you're interested in Rauta shirts or Nightside shirts. This is the official advertisement part. Now, off you go. Have a good weekend and enjoy your shit, people. Don't be douchebags. Help a brother out and listen to some good music. That's the best advice I can ever give to any kind of people. So, that's it. Take care, people, and good night. I'm off to game and do a little bit of a gaming streaming as soon as I have turned my console on and taken a piss out in the darkness to the snow. So, see you guys later and take care. Thanks. Bye.